It has been over a decade since Wisconsin last won the Big Ten, so today I'm going to attempt to fix the Badgers. But it won't be easy because I can only recruit players from Wisconsin and Minnesota. I can only hop into 3 regular season games a year, and I'm only giving myself 5 years to complete 6 challenges, which are take home the Heisman, have a winning record versus rivals Minnesota, rush for over 1,500 yards, win a Big Ten championship, win a national championship, and have a top 25 recruiting class, only getting players out of Minnesota and Wisconsin. When I list them all out, I realize that we have a lot of work to do in just 5 seasons. And my first task is seeing what we can get out of Wisconsin talent-wise, some of the best players I am not able to go after, and there's also not that many guys that are above a 3-star rating. Whenever you break it down by position, things get even worse. We only have 3 potential quarterbacks that we can go after. I would only start one of them, and from Minnesota, it looks like there's going to be nobody. I really don't know how it's going to be possible to sign a top 25 recruiting class just looking at the talent pool of players that we can go after. It is also safe to say there are only a few players on this roster that I'm excited about having. The rest of them, I'm not sure how they're going to compete in the Big Ten. At the quarterback position, we're going to be starting Billy Edwards Jr. He just transferred in from Maryland, and he's okay, but I want to rush for 1,500 yards in this video, and I'm not sure we can do it with this running back core. Tim Merritt is the only 4-star from Wisconsin and Minnesota that can play there, so I'm hoping he turns out to be a gem. He has 92 speed. And the other position I'm worried about is our quarterback position. The 1 and 2-star, we're clearly not going to turn out to be great. Elijah Godwin is also a gem, so we've gotten very lucky. After taking a full look at our board and the players I have on it, I think I have to make my first decision whenever it comes to our coach tree. And Luke Fickell has a little bit in motivator plus tactician, but we're going to go down the recruiter pathway and just make sure that our running backs, our wide receivers, and our linebackers can get more hours into that. I know that if I don't sign that first batch of players, I'm going to have to dip into the 1 and 2 stars from Wisconsin and Minnesota. I've already taken a look at them. They're not good. And the last thing that we needed was a difficult schedule, but we have road games at 4 straight top 25 teams. I'm not sure how that happened. It's not ideal, that's for sure, so I'm hoping that we don't lose to Miami, Ohio to start the season. And we didn't. I can see that we're 1-0, but we also have our best receiver and 11 other guys threatening to transfer. That's got me pretty worried, but at least we've been given another warm-up game. And we won that one as well, but only by 6 points, so I can only imagine how we're going to do at Alabama. I thought about playing this one, but I'd much rather play Michigan next week. And I'm pretty happy about the fact that we only lost by 8 points, even if we did score 16 in the 4th quarter. During last week, we also picked up our first commit, a right tackle, but I want to make sure that we're able to secure the rest of these battles. It's looking pretty good at the moment, but I am going to put them on visits for week 5. It's a bye week, so we can't lose and mess it up, but now it's time that we travel to Ann Arbor. I said that we're going to run the ball a lot in this video. We're going to do it against the Wolverines, but I didn't say that we were going to have any success with it. As we end this first half, we've scored 0 points. That throw was behind him, and I feel like we have to go for it on 4th and 2 where the handoff is going to get us enough. I'm really hoping that Billy Edwards Jr. can get us into the end zone, but we just took a massive sack and we're getting this one out in time, which we're coming away with. That is our best receiver. This is exactly what we need to happen against a team like Michigan. I didn't make a read in time right here, though. I'm trying to throw it away, and I doubt anybody was open since they did go with man-to-man coverage, but right here we could make up for it. That's a great catch. All right, time is winding down in the half. We're going to go for the scramble. We are not going to get out of there, and that arrow is shaking quite a bit, but I think we're going to put ourselves on the board. No, there's a flag at least. Thank you. I even changed the camera and everything to get us a good look, but I find it so hard to hit field goals from the hash marks in this game. That's got to be enough. Not only did we finish the first half strong, but we're going to start the second half scoring a touchdown, and that's how we're still in this game with 3.5 minutes left, but we have to pick up this 3rd and 4, and we're not going to. I'm still going to believe in our rushing attack, though. Here we go, handing it off. Akers going to get enough, but he's only going to be out there for 1 play. We're dealing with some bad wear and tear damage, so now it's time to go over to Dupree, the freshman backup, and he goes all the way to the 30. I can tell you right now, we're going to try to score a touchdown as time expires, then go for the 2-point conversion, and that would get us a huge win to start off this rebuild. The outside is open. We just can't get caught. I am afraid this game is going to end up in the hands of Billy Edwards Jr. He sails the pass, and this entire matchup now comes down to a 4th and 7. I'm going to take the drag route if it's there, or we're going to scramble, use his legs, and that's going to get us just enough. Now, I haven't been using this playbook long enough to figure out the best run, but I think this is one of our better calls, except we got absolutely nothing there, so we're going for the onside kick, and that's going to be picked up well before the marker. It needed to go at least 10 yards or else it's a penalty, and that pretty much confirms that this game's over. We might still have a little hope left, though, because we're going to stop them, and I've sweat out finishes like this before. There's going to be about 3 seconds left on the clock with this return, and nowhere to go, but that works out for us because we do still have a chance to just throw it up, hope for the best right here, and if we outrun number 3, yeah, we have no chance. It was a good effort though. I like to see that Wisconsin is putting up that much of a fight versus number 4 Michigan. And Darius Taylor playing for the Wolverines is actually great news for us. He transferred over from Minnesota, our biggest rivals, and I need to have a winning record versus them in this video. It's the first challenge. So him leaving the Gophers and joining Michigan should make this game to end the season much easier. That rivalry is a pretty big deal. It's been played 118 straight years in a row. It's the longest streak at the FBS level, which means we need to win it, and I have some amazing news whenever it comes to recruiting. We have signed 4-star running back Tim Merritt. We have signed 4-star wide receiver Killian Kennedy. We even got Elijah Godwin, the quarterback. We have literally gotten every single player that's on our board, and we're set to get even more. I'm even able to target the 3-star bust because we've ran out of other 3-stars to go after in our states, but cornerback is a bit of an issue. We're having to go after 2-stars with 84 speed and 86. There was nothing else for me to choose from, but I think it's time that we start the sim through more of the season. It's the first of 5 years. It doesn't mean that much. We actually came so close to beating number 1 Oregon on the road, but look at this. Maryland's ranked inside the top 4. We've yet to win a game in Big Ten conference play, but this feels like the perfect opportunity. And that's where our starting quarterback, Billy Edwards Jr., transferred in from, so he might as well get a chance to take down his former school. We're going to hop into this one, and I'm also going to hop into the rivalry against Minnesota to end the year, but I'm afraid that we're going to have to completely go away from running the ball, at least in these final minute and a half, because we're losing. We should not have caught that. But we didn't only make the catch, we got the touchdown, and the ref's getting in the way of our celebration. I am also going to go for the 2-point conversion. I'm hoping the zig route can get open. Somebody got blocked. And here we go. They're going to run it, and we're all over it. With all 3 of our timeouts still left, we are just fine. All we have to do is play it smart. And I'm putting enough guys in the box to where we can stop the run. Play action on 3rd down, though. Caught me a little bit off guard, and we're still getting the sack. All right, their punt is going to take us to about midfield, but if we get a good return, we could be starting this drive at like the 30-yard line. And you just got to have some faith in this roster. First play, I don't really like anything, but staying in hurry-up mode isn't much of an issue. We have the home field advantage. There's no squiggly lines, and we still have 45 seconds left. We might even beat the press over there, turn around, catch the ball, and get into the end zone. I really wish that we didn't score that quick, though, because now they're going to go for a response. And if you haven't noticed already, we are facing off against Billy Edwards Jr., even though he is on this team. There's not enough roster customization in this game to completely get rid of him, so he's playing for both sides. And the Maryland Billy Edwards Jr. is about to beat the Wisconsin Billy Edwards Jr. I would not be surprised if the Terrapins were in field goal range. That route is going to get right past us. They've gotten in. But it was almost best case scenario because they were already in field goal range. We could have picked that. This way, we've at least been given a chance to respond. Not a good chance, of course, but we're going to throw it up again. This is how we got our touchdown. And it's not going to work right there. One more play. We might have their zone beat. No, they're getting a hand on it. It is a shame that we're not going to be able to take down Maryland. That's the second number 4 team in the country we've lost to this season. And this Billy Edwards Jr. was the better one. Even though we're landing all these commits too, I might have some bad news. And that's the fact that the more that we struggle, the more that other players are going to want to leave Wisconsin. Even if these really good players come in for 1 or 2 seasons, they could always transfer out. And this recruiting class is not anywhere near good enough to compete in the Big Ten still. So things might keep on going south. We're about to play 2-4 Iowa. They're a higher overall. I don't care what their record shows. And that's why I'm not shocked they've taken us down by 4. We also have number 3 Ohio State on our schedule. We already have 6 losses, so this team's not going to become bowl eligible. We're just going to have to sim to the Minnesota game and take a look at all the recruits we have signed from the state of Wisconsin. We pretty much have over half of them, which is something that we can be proud of. Unlike our schedule, we lost to Illinois, we lost to Ohio State, we did beat Washington, but going into the Minnesota game, we're sitting at 3-8. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but we're also sitting at the very bottom of the Big Ten. It is so important that we take home Paul Bunyan's axe. But this year, the rivalry's at Minnesota, which makes things a bit tougher. With about 2.5 minutes left, I think it's safe to say we haven't contained their offense the way I wanted to. But at least we do have a lead, and we're just relying on our defense to step up in the final couple minutes. All they need is a field goal to take a lead versus us, and we're giving up a pass which puts them in field goal range as they break a tackle too. And that's not a great sign for us, but they're going to hand off the ball, and we should have been all over it. Instead, they stiff-armed us. I think it's time that we just run commit, knowing that's what's coming, They're going to get into the end zone though. And it looks like to end season 1, we're going to need to have one more comeback in us. Please don't get the 2-point conversion. That works for me. We have 69 seconds left. We're going to hit him with the spin move and go nowhere. But Billy Edwards Jr. could step up for us still, and he is going to have a chance to literally step up and scramble. Now we only need about 65 more yards. Once again, we just find ourselves running. And I think I got to get this team out of the pistol playbook. I wanted to try it, but it's not great for passing. Big 3rd and 7 now. Man-to-man coverage. The pass is going to be on target. But I can't make like any hot routes out there because we're playing on the road. We're going to have to put this straight above the defender's head, and we did. All right, now we're going to take a look to the end zone. It was cover 2. We had it, but somebody did a terrible job of picking up that kid. He should not have had that free of a rush in versus us, and they swatted away. 3rd and 10 now. We are going to potentially beat the press to the inside. What are you doing? Ashcraft, my brother in Christ, how do you not just pull that in? Okay, now we have to pick up this 4th and 10 or else the game is over. We've beaten their coverage. It's out of reach. That means Minnesota gets to take home the axe. We're also going to start out 0-1 versus them in this 5-year rebuild. We have to finish 3-2 or better. That's going to be hard to do. But honestly, compared to some of these other challenges, I think that one's the least of our worries. One of them is winning the Big Ten, and we didn't just have a bad season. We finished all the way at the bottom. I guess we can only go up from here. And another was rush for 1,500 yards, but Jackson Aker actually had a good enough season. If we would have had more games, I think that one's going to be more possible than anything else. This senior from Kentucky is only an 80 overall, and the reason I even have that challenge is I want us to have a player like Jonathan Taylor in this rebuild. But we very clearly didn't have much success running the ball that much. Our receiving stats look terrible. And then Billy Edwards Jr. only threw for 2,100 yards, but at least he didn't turn the ball over much. When it comes to our coordinators, I thought they were pretty useful with their recruiting efforts, but that was about it. So I'm gonna fire both of them and see if we can get some guys that are full tacticians. There's a problem though. The guys that I'm interested in have better schools interested in them, so I doubt we're gonna sign them. But I guess I was wrong about that. We got Liberty's head coach to come become our offensive coordinator. I'm a little bit surprised that Washington State had a championship run, but they did lose to Georgia. And I hate to say this, but we're gonna lose our best receiver and our best cornerback to the transfer portal. They have no chance at coming back. They don't want to come. So those sophomores are some pretty big losses for this Wisconsin roster, and at least we're putting somebody onto the NFL. We need our pro potential school grade to stay up. That's the reason that some of the 4-stars committed. And when it comes to the transfer portal, we don't have many options, but fortunately for us, Reese Tripp is from Minnesota, our biggest rivals, and he wants to come here. Under our recruiting restrictions, this kid's the only one I could have even gone after. And I think I'm going to guess his hard sell correctly, but I'm not sure if we're going to beat out Iowa State. It turns out that they are going to steal him from us, but it's okay. We still signed 34 players between the states of Minnesota and Wisconsin. And it's time to reveal the dev traits of some of our most important players. The bust is going to be normal dev, even though he's a 4-star. I'm seeing impact, even impact on Elijah Godwin, but star on the receiver and impact on Tim. That could have been way better, but we're working with limited options. It's time to see if we signed a top 25 class. We came in at number 28, so I think it is possible. But if it's going to happen, we have to be able to go after some more 4-stars, and we only had these 5 available to us. We didn't lose any battles throughout the entire year. There's a chance that Tim Merritt's best position is not running back either. That happens with these athletes most of the time, but it is perfect. With that in mind, plus the other 4 freshman running backs we brought in, I think we're going to have to make Dylan Jones a cornerback. Even if it's only a 65, we need way more at that position. With player progression, we're going to go into next season with an 80 overall roster. This looks pretty similar to what we had this past year. And if anything, we need to get our coach prestige up so more players don't try and transfer. Just looking at the prospects available in the state of Wisconsin, it's going to be crucial we don't have any corners or safeties leave the program. Between all 3 of these positions, there's literally only 1 player. And after scanning over what Minnesota has off the rip, there's only going to be 1 defensive back here as well. Just scouting through the most important players, none of the 4-stars have been gyms so far, but we do have this athlete scrambler that is going to be a bust. Of course he is. It literally feels like everybody from Wisconsin is busting because of the 3-stars we're going after. I found 10 different busts. And then some of the gyms I discovered locked us out, including one of the 2 defensive backs that were on our board. I thought I was making the right decision getting these coordinators in here that were both tacticians. But without the ones that we had last year, we can only put so many hours on each player, and I think it's going to cause us to lose some battles. It feels like nothing's going right for us so far to start season number 2, so at least we're playing an FCS school. And it would have been a major problem if we lost that game. Looking ahead, I think I'm hop into the one against Pittsburgh and Purdue, since those could be ranked wins, and I don't think they're going to be that difficult. We will see what overall the Panthers are. I'm going to guess about an 85. They're an 83. And this is 100% a team that we can easily take down. I probably shouldn't have said easily, but it is a team that we could beat. We have a lead if we get a touchdown on this drive, and that's what we're going to do. So shout out to the Panthers defender for setting a pick on his own player. I've also learned my lesson when it comes to running the ball in the 2-point conversion. We're going to throw it. And the longer this game goes on for, the more we've been able to just maintain our lead. It was pretty risky to go for it on that 4th and 2 though, even if I wanted to keep the drive alive. But it's paying off because we were able to run another minute and a half off the clock. Now when we hit this kick, we're going to have a 2-possession lead with 2 minutes left. And our defense has been the entire story in this one. They've used almost all the time to do nothing. Unless Pittsburgh somehow miraculously scores a touchdown on this play, it is over. And after how last season went, this is exactly what we needed to open up the season against an FBS opponent. The FCS school before that was a warm-up. Now we get to take on 0-2 UCLA. And it might have been a close call, but we won this game by 5 points. I can already tell though, if I don't start putting more hours into these battles for these 4 stars, we're not going to sign them. And that's exactly why I keep some coach points saved up. We're going to make sure we can put more points into quarterbacks, offensive linemen, and defensive linemen. Before we can see if that works though, we have to take on number 22 Purdue on the road. And I've had to rebuild them on this game before. I just don't believe they should be ranked this high at all. As you can see, I was right about Purdue not actually being that good. We have held them to 9 points in this one, but we're giving up a huge 3rd and 12. We could still let them back in this game if we don't play well. They're taking a check down, and there's like nobody over there to do anything about it. How is he still going? You've got to be joking. Those 2 defensive plays have not been my best moment in this. They get the 2-pointer. And after having control for this entire matchup, we could still choke this one away. Darian Dupree's rushed for almost 100 yards now, but I am going to try and pass it. And that was a mistake. Nobody got open right there. We're not going to get much on this run. Never mind. He hit that hole perfectly, which gives me the confidence to run it back with him on 3rd down, and he is going to get enough. We still need to mix in some passes every so often though, even if it is going over to him. Player of the game. And you would think all the wear and tear effects would start catching up on him, but he feels so explosive. This is now a huge 3rd and 3. Our slant's going to get open immediately. It's dropped. And I'm not feeling too good about going for it right here. I shouldn't have. We're going to lose this one to Purdue because of those mistakes, unless we can get a sack or something. No, they're throwing straight above our zone. And this is the exact type of result I'm used to getting. If they pick up one more 1st down, we're going to lose, but we shoot through the gap. And my only hope is they have trouble with the snap or something, but they're going to drill it. We made that way too easy for them. They're going to get a sack immediately. And I don't know what to do in that situation. That is our best left tackle that is just getting abused over there. Okay, that's going to look bad, but yeah, I should have set my feet. I'm not even going to try to make an excuse for Billy Edwards Jr. They're going to decline the penalty. But that throw could have been a lot better than it was. I'm just disappointed in how we collapsed in that 4th quarter. Maybe it's for the best if I just don't play the games. We're going to sim against our rivals Iowa again. And this season we've taken them down, but we have some harder ones coming up like USC, Maryland, Penn State. 3 top 10 opponents I don't want to face. I still want to hop into our game against Minnesota too, which means we're going to be simming a majority of the year now. My focus can go over to recruiting, where I have some big players coming in for visits this week 5 on a bye. And that felt like the only way to do it if we were going to have any success recruiting. From the looks of it, so far we have signed 3 of the 7 4-star players that we're able to go after. I don't think we're going to get this 2nd tight end though. We just don't have the school grades to beat out Maryland. But that's okay. He's the 2nd 4-star tight end. We don't need him, and we're about to play number 14 USC. This is where our season goes downhill. They beat us by 23 points. And because we run the ball so much, 2 of our running backs have already gotten injured. That means it is time for Tim Merritt, the 4-star recruit that we brought in last season, to start getting his opportunity, though I hate the skill caps that he has. So with that in mind, I'm going to change up our playbook to another one I've been wanting to try. We have left the pistol before we take on number 14 Maryland. And Billy Edwards Jr. won Player of the Week with 6 touchdowns. It's just this game is like 4 games after the Maryland one. We lost that one by 3. We actually beat Notre Dame though. I just simmed all the way down to the end of the year because I know I want to hop into a game against number 17 Minnesota. And the biggest surprise of the year has to be the turnaround that we've had. We're not at the bottom of the Big Ten anymore. We also did sign all the 4-star recruits besides the 2nd tight end, of course. We knew that Maryland was going to pick him up. And I want to get excited scrolling through the rest of the board with the gems that we found, but we also have a lot of 3-star busts joining this team. The bottom of our board is where you can really see that we're just going for any scraps we can find in Minnesota or Wisconsin. We got 1-stars, we got 2-stars, we got JUCO players on here. And the recruiting challenge has made this rebuild way harder than it needs to be. We're about to play Michigan State though. It was a narrow win, but but that's going to make us 7-4. And if we're going to have a winning record versus Minnesota, this is one that we cannot lose. But before we find out whether or not we won that matchup, a word from PrizePicks, today's video sponsor. You got to take advantage of this free square on PrizePicks during the national championship game. It's easy to pair with anything. And I feel good about combining it with Jaden Greathouse over 21.5 receiving yards because he had 7 catches for 105 yards versus Penn State. If you haven't already signed up to PrizePicks using code BOARD, it is available in these states, over 40 of them. And code BOARD will get you $50 instantly whenever you play with your first $5 plus lineup, so you could copy or fade the one I gave you. But either way, make sure you play responsibly, and now it's time to find out what happened in this matchup. It was a little disappointing how the game went last year, but we're going to channel that frustration, take it out on them. And that's how we find ourselves in the position where we're about to take a 2-possession lead here at the end of the third quarter. I thought Brock English was about to get in right there. He fell short though, so we'll take it in with merit. And it's nice to see the freshman still getting some reps even after people have healed. This game is literally over. If we could just get a goal line stop, it's not happening. And this is a massive 3rd and 2 where our bubble screen is going to get us just enough. We probably shouldn't ever put the ball through the air, but it was an RPO. It made sense to do it. And it feels like we're a couple first downs away from this one being completely over. We just have to keep on pounding the rock even when they're stacking the box. And here on 3rd and 12, we are going for it. I think I hit the wrong button. We had our other receiver open, but that works too. It looked like the cornerback that was near the ball should have had an interception, but I can't criticize bad cornerback play. I'm pretty sure we're going to experience it with the recruits we're getting. At the end of the day, that would be their final completion. They're going to lose this one. We get to take home Paul Bunyan's axe if they get to do that in this rivalry. I don't really know what the tradition is, so you can flame me for being a casual, but it is pretty cool to see. The fun part about doing all these rebuilds is I do at least a little research beforehand on each team, so I end up learning quite a bit about them. Wisconsin is finishing season number 2 inside the top 25. We've also finished inside the top half of the Big Ten. This is what we needed. But statistically, Billy Edwards Jr. barely threw for any more passing yards while turning it over 6 more times. We also experienced so many injuries at the running back position. There's not much you can take away from this besides the fact that Tim Merritt averaged 2.7 yards per carry. That is a bit of an issue, but true freshman, Keelan Kennedy came in, the former 4-star, and had a 1,000-yard season. We have that good news. We also have the good news of we have signed everybody else that's on our board. And although we weren't a good enough team to make the playoffs this season, we are finishing with a top 10 defense. I think that's pretty impressive. I don't know how we did it with these cornerbacks. We really have like no depth at our DB positions. We have got to find a way to get more players in. But for whatever reason, our best corner is threatening to transfer. Our coach prestige should have risen. I don't know what else we could do besides winning a bowl game. And that really puts the pressure on here. We cannot afford to lose this. This team is coming off of a huge win against our rivals, Minnesota. And with only 2 minutes left, we find ourselves up by 4, but Arizona has the ball, so they could take the lead. That was a really big defensive stop right there, though. It's going to be hard to pick up this 4th and 20. They're going for the deep shot, one-on-one, and we're going to turn around and not knock it loose. They caught that football. What did I say about our defensive backs? They're only going to get worse from this point forward, too. But I do think we really had a top 10 defense. I mean, we've held them to just 10 points in this game. Now we have to tackle. This is really coming down to the wire. We're going to get the interception with Lane. That is how you clutch up. And as long as we don't take a safety, which we're not going to do, we've cut it up. It's over. After winning like 3 games last season, this was an amazing year. But we are going to have to move on to a new quarterback. I prepared for this, though. I redshirted junior Danny O'Neal because I knew he wasn't going to play over Billy Edwards Jr. And not only does this kid have Goldfield General, but he also is star dev. He transferred in the same year that Billy Edwards did. He might have lost the quarterback battle originally, but now we're going to lean on him to get us into the playoffs. Washington State went back to the championship, winning it all this year. And thank goodness the only players we're losing this year are players to graduation. Nobody is transferring. Taking another look at our recruiting class, though, I am disappointed to say that most of our players, including the 4-stars, are only impact dev. And we're going to have a chance to bring in a few more transfers, but they can only come from Wisconsin or Minnesota, so that limits us greatly, and that means we're mainly going after linemen. This is only frustrating because there were cornerbacks from other states that were very interested. But we need to sign a few more players if we want to finish with a top 25 class, because it's only going to drop down from here. We have picked up the 4-star right guard, though, so I think we're going to be okay. And with the signing of 3 other 3-stars, it's time to see if we've completed our first challenge. I was very worried about trying to sign a top 25 recruiting class with these restrictions. We are not in the top 23 We come in at number 25 though. We just made the cut, and we were also tied with Ole Miss. That was a very close call when you're only recruiting in Wisconsin and Minnesota, but I did my best. I've also noticed there's certain positions that come with this territory and then others that don't, like defensive back. We are getting way too many big boys. I don't need this many offensive linemen or defensive linemen moving forward. I need other stuff like the skill positions. The problem with EA making recruiting so realistic to what these states produce in real life is whenever I do these types of challenges, we're not able to get certain players. But you know what? Either way, we've at least had a little bit of success in this video. I also think Devin Kahn could be our future quarterback. He's going to be a 74 overall. He could also play running back or receiver if we need it. And we have way too many running backs on this roster. I'm going to have to find a use for some of them, which is probably going to include making them receivers or cornerbacks. Believe it or not, I'm not really feeling good about these 47 and 50 overalls that only have a decent bit of stats here because they're fast. And I also have to find a solution for safety because between free safety and strong safety, we only have one. I think the only thing we can do with fast linebackers, especially the ones that we recruit, is move them around. And with these training results, this team's actually looking pretty good. Darian Dupree, our running back's up to a 90 overall. This is what I want to see. I will say, I feel like I have a difficult decision to make at the quarterback position. We have 3 guys that we could all start. I said I was going to roll with Danny O'Neal, but that's because I expected this 4-star bust to not be that good, and his accuracy is capped out pretty low, but so is the other guy. I'm not sure if I showed it or not, but Elijah Godwin does not have the best potential. He's already maxed out his accuracy, and he's also a lefty. That's why I haven't cared too much about him, but then there's Reggie Keene in this next recruiting class. If we land this kid, he could be the future as well. There's also a 5-star from Wisconsin, and on the Minnesota side of things, it's mainly just a bunch of offensive linemen again. I need to see some corners somewhere. Maybe I don't need to recruit traditional cornerbacks though. I went back to check out the position, and some of these guys I moved over that were like 50 overalls progressed almost 30 overalls in one offseason. My only guess for why their overalls went up so much so fast is the fact that they have the speed to play corner, and also the fact that their awareness just maxed out at 99 immediately. I've looked at both of their stats and I'm seeing stuff like 65 zone coverage. I don't want that on our corners, but this could be a method if they still progress well since they're young. Let's just say that we're going to keep a close eye on the development of both Traylon Jackson and Lane Brink throughout the rest of this rebuild. And I think they're going to be our best cornerbacks, but if they're not, I did find a safety and a corner that we can go after that are 3-stars. I'm also putting points on some 3-star gyms instead of 4-stars because we have so many linemen. I feel like we've been blessed with the players that we've been able to have a chance at recruiting though. I'm also taking a look at the top 25 because we're here at number 12 before we play a game. The expectations for this team are extremely high. I'm going to play against Pittsburgh again. I should also probably play against either Penn State, Nebraska, or USC, but I also want to face Minnesota. It is very hard to choose which 3 games I'm going to hop into every season. I know I can't play against Colorado State, but the fact that they were the higher overall team really worried me, and we only won this game by 1 point. With results like that, this could turn into a very long season for us, but we're about to have a top 10 matchup. And I could have sworn that this schedule said this game was going to be a home one for us, but we're not playing it at home unless this is on a neutral site. Maybe it was last year as well, and I just didn't realize it because I'm pretty sure this is a stadium in Ireland. And there it is on the screen. It says Dublin Stadium. The travel to another country has not helped us out though. We've scored 0 points. And Danny O'Neal has 2 interceptions. He is struggling, but we're going to pick up this 4th down. I do criticize EA quite a bit, but I will say the fact that they have these games in the future in here on the neutral sites is cool because they got the logo at midfield for the kickoff classic correct. We're going down. And we've recruited way too many offensive linemen to be struggling in that regard. We're going to have to make a good throw on 3rd down, but there's a flag. Of course, I crossed the line of scrimmage. I always do it. And we might as well just consider this game over. We're not going to be able to beat Pitt unless we actually beat the press over there. Kennedy did. There we go. That is exactly what we needed. We're also going to try to thread the needle here. It's held on to. And Keelan Kennedy is going off for us at the moment. I think I'm going to look back in his direction on this 2-point conversion. If it's not there, we'll scramble. And do you believe in miracles? We could pull off a 24-point comeback. I mean, they're not going to pick up this 3rd and 16. We can get over there. But we are definitely going to have to score pretty quickly. On 3rd and 7, I actually had him open. It's going to be overthrown. It's going to be caught. But it doesn't matter. Whatever happened there, even if it was dropped, it's a flag. I saw it just a second too late. Now they have man-to-man coverage on Keelan Kennedy. You know what? we're going to trust him. He was a 1,000-yard receiver last year. I'm sure he's going to do it again this season the way he's playing against Pittsburgh. And he is just carving this defense apart at the moment. I almost want to go back in his direction, but we're also going to run with O'Neal. I doubt Dupree's going to have any issues punching this in from right here. He cuts back. But this is a very important 2-point conversion, and Kennedy is open. We have done it. We've put ourselves in a much better position. But our defense still has to get Pitt off of the field, and we are. They have no choice but to pass it on 3rd and 18. I guess they are going to run it and try to pick it up. But it doesn't work, and I'm going back to staring down one receiver. He's the one we can lean on. I'm literally not looking in anybody else's direction. I needed more time. And here we go. 2nd and 14. Our left tackle actually did a fantastic job right there, but we didn't have anybody open. This is a very, very big 3rd and 14. I'm going to step up. I'm going to have to make the aggressive catch. I threw it late. And we'll see what we can get open on 4th and 14. I just have to get a throw out at least. You can't say I didn't try. I put in all that effort and we're going to fall short. But I'm going to blame the jet lag. It took us until the 4th quarter to play well. I flew overseas last year for the first time with the plan of sleeping overnight on the plane. Let's just say it did not work out well. So I'm going to give my players on this Wisconsin team the benefit of the doubt. And just taking a look at our current recruiting board, we are set up to sign all 13 of the prospects that we're going after, which would just be incredible. I am certainly not going to let one loss get us down. I think we're going to beat Michigan State. But we didn't. We only put up 10 points versus them, and I'm starting to wonder if it's going to be time to make a quarterback switch. Danny O'Neal threw 3 interceptions. I am just convinced the improviser archetypes do not sim very well in this game versus scramblers or field generals, so we're going to give Khan a shot. And his first task is going to be taking down Illinois. He did not do that, though. We scored 0 points against the Fighting Illini, and I got to look at these offensive stats. What went wrong? We're averaging 2.7 yards per carry. I've seen enough of this playbook. If we're going to try anything, I'm going to try Wisconsin's original playbook. Since we're using Wisconsin, I probably should have never gone away from that in the first place, though it's an air raid. And that's probably because they now have Luke Fickell. They don't have the same coach they did whenever Jonathan Taylor was rushing for a lot, Melvin Gordon, all those names, but we're going to still boost up our offensive line play. I'm also going to boost up our defensive line play. If that's where our best players are going to be, I want them to perform even better than they already would. I feel like no matter what I do, we're not going to take down #1 Penn State. That's just unrealistic. But we have beat them 28-27. That's the only score we've won games with this season. How did the new offense perform? 3 touchdowns, that's what I like to see. That one win really just turned everything around for us. We have made a ton of signings. We're not going to get this kid, though. We've had this deal breaker for a while now. I've given up on it, but we could still get a 5-star. And to be honest, another player that we just can't go after because of playing style, I'm not upset that we're going to lose. We already have so many of them. I'm also going after far less players this season because we just don't need it. We have 5 seniors total on this roster. You know the positions where we're going to be low on depth. There's 15 juniors. And with how many players I signed in our first 2 years, I might not even need to recruit next year. I think we've already made our splash. We've done the hard work. As you can see, there's the first 5-star. And we've bounced back. We've beat Northwestern. We destroyed an FCS school. Next up on our schedule is Nebraska, who is another rival of Wisconsin's, but I don't think I'm going to play it. I want to play USC next week. That was the right decision. They might have put up 21 points in the second quarter, but our defense did well after that. And apparently the Trojans lost last week, but they were ranked. I knew it was going to be on the road, and we're still going to hop in. There's a lot on the line for us. I think we could still find ourselves in the running for the Big Ten championship. And we have reappeared back in the top 25. I'm pretty sure we can win out with the schedule we have, which would put us in the playoffs. It really all started with that 1-point sim win over Penn State. But whether the Trojans are ranked or not, USC is a 90 overall, making this tough. Just from the looks of it, it's definitely been a defensive battle, because with 2 minutes left, both teams have not scored more than 10 points, and they threw it straight at us. I tried to click on and make the play, but now they're probably just going to run out the rest of the clock. We can't get off of the blocks, and I don't feel good about it, but we've had to start calling timeouts. Well, that RPO fooled us. Now we have the ball down by 5. We have to score on this drive, and you know exactly whose direction I'm going to be looking in with Khan, but we're going down. It is now 3rd and 14. We are probably just going to throw this one up to our best receiver. See if the little guy can make a play. He does. He stays up. And now we're in a pretty good spot. Little halfback draw. They're probably not expecting. We're going to cut it up, go to the 2. But here's the issue about hurry up mode on the road. I can't change the play, and it didn't matter. We really just turned things around right there. If we hit our drag route, we'll be fine for the 2-point conversion. Or at least I thought we would. I should have held that down for a bullet pass. They're taking out the kick, though, which is going to waste more time. I want to get this win here in the Coliseum so bad. If we can bait them into an interception, we would. Or we could just have some lockdown defense. I mean, that's a terrible pass. They're gonna have to stop playing scared. Stuff like that's not gonna get them the win. We're gonna snag it with Medina. That is gonna do it. And if we return this for a pick six, it would have rubbed in the wound. Oh well, we can still go for running up the score. We're gonna cut it up, go down at the 1. And you best believe I called a timeout just so we could make it look a little bit worse. What am I doing? Tim Merritt couldn't get a touchdown there. It is what it is though. We still take the win over USC. We're gonna sim 2 of our last 3 games. And then the final one against Minnesota, I'll be playing. They are the lone ranked team left on our schedule. You're gonna see that I was just 3-6. So even if it's a rivalry, we're at home, I feel pretty confident. And I just have to hope that this team does not let me down. Well, if we've unlocked the architect archetype, that means we won the game just because you have to unlock it by winning rivalries. And sure enough, we beat them 34-20. We have also climbed up to number 4 in the Big Ten. I'm hoping that we make it to the conference championship. Oregon is up there at number 2 at 6-5. But of course, if any of that's going to happen, we have to win out. Ever since we switched up the playbook and made those changes against Penn State, we have been on a winning streak, but apparently it all ended against UCLA. We scored 10 points. That is just disgusting. It's dropped us out of the top 25, but it's the reason I do these rebuilds that way. We haven't made our roster good enough to deserve a playoff spot. I'm still working to make it better. I mean, we got our first 5-star ever. We probably signed the most 4-stars we ever have in this class, though it is going to end right here. And it's listed as a top 10 class for the moment, but I know it's probably going to finish around 30 to 35. We'll see if we get anybody in the transfer portal though. For now, our worry is Minnesota. And if we could just win this game, the outlook of completing the challenge, having a winning record versus them in this video is looking a lot more likely. Sure enough, as time winds down, we are once again protecting a lead. Though they just split our safeties and they're going for the touchdown. They've just taken a lead. That cannot be the first play that I hop into. It is what it is. There's a minute left on the clock. We have the ball. We have our chance to actually do something, and I'm throwing a pick. I have just ruined this team in 2 plays. Thinking back on it, we probably would have been better off if I just simmed this. I mean, to be fair, I did sim to get to this point. It's not like I played every single play. But I thought we would do better, and now they're gonna have to kick a field goal at least. This is my fault for not stepping in sooner. That goes down the middle. And I want it to be known that this team had a 10-point lead going into the start of the 4th quarter. It is all fallen apart though. We're gonna have to go over to Kennedy. That side of the field looks open. But guess what? The freshman quarterback misses his throw, and right here, he's throwing it straight to the other team again. Go ahead. Get the touchdown. I don't care. We lose. This was an absolute masterclass on my part to lose us the rivalry this season. There is no reason Minnesota should have beat us. And I gotta say, up until those final 2 weeks, things look so good for Wisconsin. It is what it is, though. I think there's a lot we can build on from this season. Arch Manning won the Heisman Trophy. I actually don't see that happen in Dynasty much. And we didn't make it to a bowl. We were definitely eligible for one. They just decided not to put us in one. And in the college football playoffs, Miami's going to win it all. Taking a look at our season stats, we have definitely struggled at the quarterback position after losing Billy Edwards Jr. And I'm not sure if our running backs are just guaranteed to have injuries or what, but they're splitting the carries, and also Con had quite a few. Come to think about it, Darian Dupree being out with a torn rotator cuff for those final 2 matchups is probably the reason that we lost. And on the receiving side of things again, Keelan Kennedy was our number 1 receiver, but he had a lot less yards and touchdowns. The good thing though is we're not losing that many players. It's gonna sting having both our left and right end go on to the NFL. They're gonna be projected 2nd round picks, and that's where they're gonna be drafted, but I think we're gonna be just fine at those positions because we've recruited pretty well there. When it comes to the transfer portal, I don't think there's gonna be anybody I'm gonna care to go after. Nobody from Wisconsin. And there also wasn't a single transfer from the state of Minnesota. That made advancing to National Signing Day a pretty easy decision, but most of these 4-stars we signed have just normal dev besides star on the 5-star. Very disappointing in that regard. Looking at the top 25, we did not make it. We finished inside the 30 to 35 range like I said we would. And I swear, we have so many offensive linemen, I don't know what to do with all of them. If I've learned anything from last season's training results, I will be moving some of these players over from running back to corner. It seems like a pretty solid pipeline. And let's see what overalls they become from a 41 and a 49. Well, I clearly haven't figured out the exact formula. Yusuf jumped up like 25 overalls. His change of directions maxed out. His awareness is not a 99 though, it's a 92. And then for whatever reason, Sammy didn't gain anything in awareness like some of our players from last year did. I mean, Traylon Jackson is somehow turned into our number 1 cornerback. He hadn't played here beforehand, so maybe it's hit or miss. But I definitely had a little bit higher expectations, which is why I'm disappointed. Though taking a look at this roster, I think it's going to compete just fine. I think it could even rise in overall after I cut some of these lower overall players. But it really didn't. It's still stuck at an 87. Darian Dupree, a 93 overall now, should be playing for us, but he still has a torn rotator cuff because every week that you advance counts as 1 week towards the injury, even though the offseason's much longer, which is such an annoying part about this game, but thankfully we have 2 weeks off, so he will be healthy for our first one against Northwestern. And taking a look at the recruiting pool, I don't think I'm going to do much with it, but we could go after a couple players. We really don't need that much, but I am excited about the fact of having a receiver and running back to scout. And if anything, we're going to do more additions in the transfer portal if there's players available from those states. We'll probably still go after these two though. It just doesn't make much sense to do more than that, even if it's saying we have team needs. There's 2 years left. We have plenty players to get through those 2 years. And taking a look at who's going to start at quarterback, these guys are the same overalls. I think we just got to roll with Khan. He's going to be here for the last 2 years while Danny'd be gone after this season. But right beforehand, I would like to make a little bit of an adjustment. I'd like to give a boost to our defensive backs since we did have 15 coach points to spend. It looks like we're going to win this one 28-21, and I did switch up the playbook back to the pistol so we'd run the ball a bit more, which has led to 167 yards out of Darian Dupree. To be honest, I think if we're going to rush for 1,500 yards in a season, it's going to be this one. And I didn't really want to hop into this game, but once seeing that Utah was an 87 overall, I feel like we need to make sure that we don't lose. I know that they're going to play us pretty close. I'm hoping we can finish this drive off to take a lead. And just look at how quick Darian Dupree is. He has been electric throughout this first half, though he's not out there for this 4th and goal, where I don't know if we're going to be able to escape the pressure, but what a play from Khan. We could have just taken our 3, but I wanted to go for it. It's going to pay off. And the longer that this game goes on for, the more I think that we're going to be okay. I think they're going to have to settle for 3. If they're able to hit this kick, they're still going to be in the game. But if they want to get the ball back, they're going to have to stop Darian Dupree, and they do. He has rushed for 160 yards in this one, and it still might not be enough. On 3rd and 9, it's going to become a 4th and 1. And here we go. This is the game. I'm going to run commit because it seems like they're about to run the football, and we're going to get in there, but it won't matter. That is so unfortunate. They keep on driving down the field as well, throwing that one out of the back of the end zone. But I feel like at some point they got to pick up on all the cover 3 that we're running, and they just handed it off for a touchdown. I guess I shouldn't have pass commit. This looks like it's going to be set up for a run though, which would be a terrible decision on their part. We're all over it, and we pushed them in. Now we have to get in field goal range to win this game in the next 55 seconds. And it's probably best that we took a sack right there. I was about to throw an interception. This ball is going to be placed perfectly, but it is coming back because of a holding penalty. This is how we end up losing games that we really shouldn't. On 3rd and 25, we just have to hope that they don't deflect it. And I'm afraid that if this ball does not bounce before they catch it, we're in trouble. I really don't know how you win this game from this point. They're basically already in field goal range. They take their drag, and that seals it. They're just going to run the ball a few times. I cannot believe that this team has just blown this game. It's on me. And there was no reason for them to kick this field goal this early, but they shanked it to the left. We've survived against Utah for now. I still have a slight hope that we can throw up a deep ball as well and have a lot of success versus them. If this is placed perfectly, we would have been in field goal range, but it didn't work out that way. All they have to do is not return it here. And I guess we're headed to overtime. This is just the 2nd game of the year, and it's already close. The pressure is on. Darian Dupree, even with all the fatigue he's taken in this game, is getting carries. And I can promise you right now, this is how we're going to get into the end zone. There's no reason to do anything else. Our offensive line is blocking incredibly, and all we have to do is punch this one up the gut one more time. My problem in this video has not been the offense, though. It's been the defense. We're coming away with the interception with Jackson, and Wisconsin is going to get the win at home over Utah. That was such a great way to end the game. We got the game-sealing pick, and we have a running back that should be in the Heisman race. There is no reason to not expect him to continue that run versus Marshall. And he rushed for 200 yards. He had 2 touchdowns in a 35-10 win over the Thundering Herd. It takes a lot for running backs to be put in the Heisman race, though, on this game, so he's going to have to keep it up. And I really want to hop into this game at 3-0 Iowa, one of our biggest rivals, but we play Ohio State the week after. It hurts to see that we're going to lose this one 20-17. And knowing that we still have number 4 Michigan, number 16 Oregon, and number 18 Minnesota on our schedule, I think we have to keep on simming even against the Buckeyes. They're 1-3, they're 0-2 in Big Ten play, so they have not had a good start to the season. And just so I don't forget about it, when it comes to recruiting, we signed both of the 4 stars we went after. To my surprise, we're actually going to beat the Buckeyes 17-9, all because of our defense. And we have a tough task. We have to take down number 4 Michigan now. This string of games could really make up for the game that we lost to Iowa, though. And I like like how things are looking with 6 minutes left. We're going to cut this up and fight our way to the one. At the moment, we have a 1-point lead. It's about to become an 8-point lead. And Darian Dupree was just able to get enough there. We have got to get the Wolverines off of the field, though, on 3rd and 3. I'm not sure where they're going to go, but that was super clutch. Now we just have to make sure we keep on running out the clock. However, we were marked short right there. I'm going for it on this 4th and 1. And that might have been a risky play call, but I trusted Darian Dupree in that situation. If anything, I really just don't want the Wolverines to get the ball back. We're going to step up, take our first. And if we get one more of those, this game is going to be over. He sheds that tackle. He's so close. It has taken him 27, now 28 carries to get 100 rushing yards. But who cares? We just took down number 4 Michigan at home, and that's a big, big win. Unfortunately, though, we're still not going to be ranked above Michigan despite just beating them. And we're going to have to prove ourselves against the next teams on our schedule. It looks like we're going to take down Indiana 28-17. And I think I'm going to sim all the way up until the Oregon game. Maybe we even go past that, though, and play against Minnesota. That wasn't necessarily the smartest thing I've ever done because we just beat Nebraska by 5. And then we lost to Washington by 24 points a week later. They turned out to be a top 5 team while Oregon wasn't actually that good. We beat them by 28 points and then destroyed an FCS school. What the second Big Ten loss means, though, is we're not going to have a chance to make it to the conference championship. But either way, I guess we're just going to have to face off against Minnesota again. Losing this game means that I would fail the rivalry challenge for the entire video. And I just couldn't let that happen. We have literally put up 28 points in the first half. It's about to be 35. Dupree should be able to take this one in. We just need him to cut it up the middle. And he might not be in the Heisman Trophy race, but he's had a good year. At the end of the day, this one shouldn't have ever been close. We handled our business pretty well against them. And I'll take a 28-point win over our rivals. I don't think we need to face them next year. By then, we should be good enough to beat them in sim, because that feels like a real championship window, especially since we're not making the Big Ten championship. We have, however, earned our spot in the college football playoffs, though. I think it's just been a season of madness because Vanderbilt's up here and a lot of other small programs like UConn. Penn State's quarterback's going to win the Heisman Trophy, and our first round matchup is going to be against Oregon State. I'm not sure I've ever seen them get in either. The Pac-12 normally just dissolves into nothing with these two teams, but both of them made the playoffs. And I feel like this might actually be the weakest bracket I have ever seen going into them. Penn State should have a cakewalk to the championship, and we might even be able to get there too. We need to look at season stats first, though. Khan did not throw for many yards. That's expected because we ran the ball, and we ran the ball for over 1,500 yards with Darian Dupree. I figured we'd also win the Heisman Trophy if we completed that challenge, but it just wasn't the case. And interestingly enough, he didn't win the best running back award either, despite having the most yards and the most touchdowns in the country. It is what it is, though. Taking a look at our receiving stats, Keelan Kennedy has taken another step back. And I'm just hoping that throughout the playoffs, especially against Oregon State, he can redeem himself. Since we get to play at home, I think we'll have at least another playoff game. But I have to give credit to Oregon State so far. They've played against us well, and we had to throw it up the middle, which we're not catching. It was worth trying to put the ball in there. We're going to get it within 1. But unfortunately, as this game has gone on, we just haven't been able to close the deficit. With 3.5 minutes left, we are still losing. On 4th and 4, I felt like scrambling was the best way to pick it up. We're trying to get more too. And a touchdown would put us out on top, but we have not done well in this game. I thought Oregon State was going to be an easy opponent for us to just take down. But instead, we're just blowing this one. They're going to be passing the ball on 2nd and 8. And what are our defensive backs doing? We don't have good enough corners on this team to stop teams from passing. And here we go, 2nd and 9. They're going to hand this one off, and we're right there. All right, this is it now, 3rd and 11. I thought they would be running the ball, but they're passing, and they're going to go down at the 2. This is a prime spot for teams to shank this type of kick, though. It doesn't seem to go in from here. They didn't make it. And I appreciate that feature whenever it does not affect me. We also have a touchdown on this next play right here. I saw Barry Johnson like a second too late, but it didn't matter at all, and I'm starting to want to run out the clock, but we shouldn't. Oregon State still has all their timeouts, so either way, they were going to get a chance at scoring. We're just going to make it a 3-point game. And here we go. It is now 3rd and 10. They've done nothing on these first 2 plays, but that's on my user right there. If they get into field goal range, this one is going to be going to overtime. It's looking pretty likely at the moment, and I'm more worried about the fact that we're going to give up a touchdown as well. They are going to spike the ball, though, to waste it down. And these next 3 plays could be the biggest plays of the season, though that gets them in field goal range. However, their kickers already missed from a pretty short distance in this one. And after spiking the ball again, I just want them to go for the field goal. I want them to stop trying to get a touchdown. We're ready for overtime. They hand it off. They don't get much. And they use their final timeout. I think they're far enough back to where their kicker's not going to shank it, even kicking from the hash mark, but it would be hilarious if he did. And having 18 seconds left doesn't do too much for us, but we have a chance to throw up the ball a couple of times, and that's going to be intercepted. Intercepted. I swear, if they get into field goal range, I'm going to lose my mind. And I don't know why I put the ball right there. There was no reason to do it. All right, they're going to probably throw this away. I can't believe I went into this one underestimating Oregon State. I was surprised they even made the playoffs. Clearly, they're deserving of a spot. The Hail Mary is not going to work. And we'll see what happens in overtime. Big 3rd and 2 right here. I'm hoping they just hand this ball off. We get them to a field goal, but it's play action. I fell for it. Now we have to respond back. On 2nd and 9, I don't like anything out there. And we should have just been running the ball. There was no reason to drop back and take a sack. Now we're going to scramble, and this is going to make up for all of it. I have learned my lesson. For the rest of this drive, I'm just going to let Darian Dupree go to work. And I think we're going to go for the 2-point conversion as well once we get in. I would much rather have a chance at just ending the game now. And here we go. It's now 3rd and goal, which they're not stopping. All right, here we go. We're coming out in Wildcat for a spot in the quarterfinals, and that is going to be the best blocking. It was a nail biter, but we are coming out on top. We have survived. But I don't think this team's going to win a championship. The only reason we even have a slight chance is because this bracket is weak. There's not many traditional powerhouses in it. And it doesn't matter how good of a season that UCF had, they are still going to be a lower overall team than somebody like Georgia would be. Now, we saw that not make much of a difference versus Oregon State. We had to fight for that win, so maybe I need to get my biases out of my head. And we got to talk about how bad our defense has played in this game. We've given up 30 points. We're going to still be down if we don't get at least a field goal out of this drive. Darian Dupree can outrun that defender, though, getting us 8. And I'm not sure if pressing is going to be what works for them. I'm going to test that corner over there. If that ball's placed on the money, we're in. As a 90 overall receiver, Patrick Sharp is 100% going to declare for the NFL early. And I cannot believe that that was marked as a 4th and inches, and they're punting it back to us as well. We are going to get it back and probably run out the rest of the clock. Just a couple of minutes ago, things weren't looking as good for Wisconsin. But if things work out the way that I'm hoping they do, all we need is 2 more first downs. This should be the first one right here. There's a gaping hole for us to pound our way through. And on the other side of the 2-minute warning, UCF's going to have to start using some timeouts. They are heavily stacking this box, though. They're going to send up everybody, and it's not going to matter. We'd continue to just run out the rest of the clock, sealing our win. And this might be the best game the sophomore quarterbacks had. It was another close one, though, and now we're going to play Washington, who I simmed against in the regular season. On the other side of the bracket, Penn State's remained undefeated. They just have to get through Washington State. And here we go. It's going to be another really good test for the Badgers. I really wish that the computer's overalls were more indicative of how good those teams actually were, though. It said that Washington was a 78. They clearly aren't. And that's like the number one thing that clearly needs to be fixed in Dynasty and College Football 26, just off the way they're playing us. I mean, we almost got in there. We probably should right here, but they're still up by 3. And we're definitely feeling the effects of our best defensive linemen leaving for the NFL last year. We could still get them off the field on this 3rd and 18, though. It would be massive for us. They don't really have anywhere to go. And I'm hoping that we can do something special with this drive right here, but I made the read too late. The Huskies would go on to kick a field goal. On this 3rd and 2, I'm just going to wait for Dupree to get open in the flat. I'm not looking deep. And the game has been begging me to try this reverse play, so we're going to go for it. Barry Johnson is not fast enough. Season on the line, and I'm just attempting dumb things, but I'm going to throw it up to him on this next one because I saw the mismatch, and he's coming away with the football. After that play, I am feeling a lot more confident. On 3rd and 12, they really have nothing to go to. But I just took another look at the scoreboard, and I am almost certain that we just got 6 points out of the last drive and that we missed the extra point. I always sim them, and it is always in situations like this where we can't have it happen that our kicker misses. But I still think we're going to be okay. We are in a good spot on the field, and we're going to run. If we can just get like 20 more yards, we're going to be in field goal range. We got to hold on to this football. And that was a beautiful throw from Con right there. We're already going to be down to like the 15. If that safety was a little bit better, though, it was a risky read to make. We're getting the first down. They're taking timeouts. We're going to probably run out the rest of the clock. And we have set ourselves up perfectly to have the game-winning kick. It is going to be on to the national championship for Wisconsin. And that shouldn't have happened in the first place. If we just hit our extra point, we would have won it either way. But it's okay. Our quarterback's playing better than ever. Kyan Barry Johnson is as well. He had over 200 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. But unfortunately, Penn State has made it to the national championship. I was really hoping that Washington State could have upset them. But you know what? It's season number 4. We shouldn't have been able to make it this far in the first place. Theoretically, next season's roster is going to be even better than this one. But you best believe we're still going for the championship in this game. It'd be incredible if we could win it, and we're going to go down at the 2. We already have a 4-point lead. We could make it an 11-point lead right here with Dupree. And this kid is having an incredible year. The best part is throughout the second half, we've been able to remain out on top. But getting stopped right there means we need to hit a huge clutch field goal, and I'm afraid that one might just be wide. No, it banked in. Fate is on Wisconsin's side in this game. We could get them their first national championship ever. And here we go. It is 4th and 10. If they don't pick this up, it's going to be very hard for them to take us down. We're going to get the interception. And if we return this for even a little bit, we could have a pick 6 and especially seal this game. 19's trying to catch Medina, though. It's going to be close. They're going to have to wave the white flag if we're able to score a touchdown. And I just don't see how they could stop us on the goal line. That's how you do it, Texas. It's a little bit unexpected, but here in season number 4, we have already taken home the national championship. But this doesn't end our rebuild or the rest of the video because I'm pretty sure there's still like 3 challenges that we have to complete. Next season, we need to make sure that we beat Minnesota. We need to win the Big Ten championship, and we also have to get a Heisman Trophy. But we're gonna have to do that after saying goodbye to Darian Dupree. He might not have rushed for 2,000 yards at Wisconsin like Jonathan Taylor did, but he had a good enough season. This compares to what JT did back in his Wisconsin days. And to my surprise, we have nobody declaring early for the NFL draft. A lot of players graduating that I think should be in the running for it. One of them turned into a 6th round pick. We had Darian Dupree going in the 3rd. And in the transfer portal, there's a couple players from Minnesota that are interested in us. I'm sure there's also going to be players from Wisconsin. We just won the national championship. It's not like they're anything we haven't had before. As transfers, they could be higher overalls, though. They're also players that we probably missed out on recruiting earlier on in this video. And of course, we ended up signing all 5 of them. Even after only pursuing 7 players, our class wasn't ranked as low as Northwestern's. And we're seriously so fortunate that both Patrick Sharp and Keelan Kennedy didn't declare early for the NFL draft, because after them, it gets pretty rough. With training results, this team's gonna come in at a 91 overall. But I know we can get that higher with some strategic cutting. I'll also be putting 20 coach points into our quarterback just so he performs better throughout the season, hoping he can win the Heisman. Because to be honest, if Con can't take it home, I'm not sure anybody else on this team can. He's only an 83 without any tactician boost because his accuracies are kind of low. We're coming off a championship though. We have that going for us. Despite our schedule looking pretty horrible to start the year, then it gets much easier. After we take on an FCS school, we might just have to hop into the next few games. And we've started out the season with a win, but it was only 27-0. We now have 3 straight top 16 opponents. 2 of them are on the road. And we have got to go for back-to-back national championships. We're the #1 team in the country. The expectations for us are super high. And I would say we have played a perfect first half, but that ball is going to be underthrown into an interception. We literally had the touchdown. I just had another red meter throw. I've had a lot of them in this video. And on 3rd and 4, we're going to go right back to the same route to make sure that we can pick it up. It's the freshman receiver. I think to start this 4th quarter, we're going to take a 28-7 lead. It was going to come eventually, but we somehow dropped that pass. I'm blaming the rain, and this is going to be brought in. Once we got off to a really good start, it was always going to be difficult for Oregon to overcome it. We're even coming away with this catch down to the 5. And I'm honestly going for Patton Con's stats as he puts that in there, and we catch it out of the deflection. I have not seen something like that happen in a very, very long time. If our offense keeps on playing this well, we're going to have a perfect season. And the main goal is for him to be in the Heisman race, but I threw that interception, which could cost him. We definitely can't have many of those. I think I'm also going to play at Michigan if they're a 90 overall, even after they lost. And there's a chance that I also play against Washington next week if they're still undefeated. There's certain games in Sim I just can't trust us to win. This is actually one of them. Thankfully, we pick up the 4th and 1. And Keelan Kennedy is a little guy, but he finds the space in the defense. Michigan responded back with a touchdown of their own, though, and then on the first play of this drive, we had a holding penalty. And that puts us in a pretty rough spot with 2 minutes left in this game. We're about to take another sack. Thankfully, we're able to run for quite a bit. It is now 3rd and 13, though. I'm looking in Keelan Kennedy's direction. It's a red meter pass. We are literally having those like every 5 passes because our quarterback's accuracies are just terrible. How did they almost get in there? If they score a touchdown on this drive, this game is over. And here we go. 2nd and goal. We are going to be all over him. There's been a lot of clutch finishes in this video, but we're going to need another one. I feel like we're going to get the sack. We've even forced a fumble, and they're not going to get a chance to kick a field goal. A touchdown wins this game for us now. We just need to stand tall in the pocket and not get picked. I cannot stand playing on the road, though. We're about to take a sack right here. I'm trying to escape. We're not going to. And I don't know why I thought Con was faster than he is. Come on. Our best tackle just got shoved over. He had no chance at picking him up. And that was 2 chances that we just had to beat Michigan, but we couldn't get around their defense. I think those 2 games were worth playing, though. We probably would have lost one of the 2 in Sim at least if I didn't hop into them. And since we're at home against Washington, I am going to Sim. This one has gone our way, 21-17 when it comes to our quarterback quarterback play, though, Con has thrown a pick. And I don't see how he's going to get into the Heisman Trophy race. We're just going to have to sim all the way to this game against Minnesota, though. I want to make sure we at least complete that challenge, beating them. Ohio State's the only game left on the schedule I'm worried about losing. This makes things simpler for us, though. By the time we get to that point, we'll know if we have a chance at making the Big Ten championship, a chance at winning the Heisman. And I just got to stop it by the time we get to like week 12 or 13. Well, taking a look at this schedule, including a 56-0 win over Temple, I think we're having a pretty good season. And we don't have just one player in the Heisman Trophy race. No, Keely and Kennedy's up here, and so is Con. Now, I've noticed that Georgia Tech is ranked above us. They must be having a solid year. So is Syracuse. Once again, there's not many powerhouse programs up here inside the top 25. And somehow, no matter what, we're a lock to make it to the Big Ten Conference Championship. It doesn't matter what happens against Minnesota, but I saved this game for a reason. I wanted to make sure that we could beat them. And every single time that we've gone on the road versus them in this video, we have not been able to take down the Gophers. Let's be real though, this team is 3-8, so we should be able to have success. There's still just a lot of plays though that we're not hitting the passes accurately, and Tim Merritt is going to go all the way to the crib. Our success is kind of continued here in the third quarter as we're going to get another touchdown. And if anything, the odds of Con winning the Heisman Trophy had to have gone up. He completed 85% of his passes, he had a few touchdowns, and it was a close call, but we are going to finish above 500 versus rivals Minnesota in this video. All it would have taken was one more loss and it wouldn't have been possible. We're playing Penn State, who we faced in the national championship for the Big Ten championship. And this is such a bad season for our conference in general. Everybody is going to finish outside the playoffs besides us. We are also losing the Heisman race to North Texas's quarterback and Georgia Tech's wide receiver at the moment, which means if we're going to take home that Heisman Trophy, we've got to have a big game. This is it right here. The last two challenges in this video come down to this matchup. And either way, the roster that we built under these recruiting restrictions turned out to be a lot better than I thought it would. On an early 4th and 1, we're going to hand it off to make sure we can move the chains. And from here, Con is going to have a chance to take a look at the end zone, but we might just scramble for it. Those also help. He really doesn't have that many passing touchdowns this year, so he probably needs to get more rushing touchdowns to win. And if anything, I know that we can't have any turnovers in this game, but they're gonna swat it. I am playing this as aggressive as I can though. We're going for it on 4th and 7. I saw that we beat the press that they get to again. And thankfully our defense has really stepped up in this matchup. For most of this game, we've been able to coast on 4th and 2. They're literally throwing it straight to Jackson, and we gotta go for the return. That is the Traylon Jackson that we moved over from running back. He is still having success. We're able to run for the first down. And you might think that this game is over, but I think if we're gonna win the Heisman Trophy, we need one more touchdown. On 3rd and 3, it is man-to-man coverage, so we're going to run for it. That's normally a good choice. And this is the entire video in our hands at the moment. We just have to have one more good drive. I did throw an interception with Con at some point in this game, so that's why I'm a bit more nervous about whether or not we're going to win. But he would have 5 touchdowns if we just finish this off, and we do. From here, I feel like the voting is out of my control. We did all that we could. And either way, this has been an extremely successful video with Wisconsin. Here we go. It turns out that the Heisman Trophy is not going to go to Con yet. He wins Player of the Year. It's going to probably come up after this. And that is the Heisman to our quarterback. That means we completed every single challenge in this video. I think it's been a while since I've done that. And we also had the best defensive player in the country on our team who we recruited. Tim Merritt also won the best running back award with his 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. And the sophomore strong safety was the best defensive back. We're getting everything. That is what happens when you're the #1 team though. Looking at the bracket, we're probably going to have to play Miami in the quarterfinals. And those awards showed most of our season stats, but it didn't show Con 618 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns on the ground, and also Keely and Kennedy having 19 receiving touchdowns. His career's been all over the place. He had 1,000 yards as a freshman. He took a step back for 2 seasons, but still had 7 touchdowns, and this was his best year. Now it turns out we're getting the Hurricanes in our first game, and I love the chance that we have to win back-to-back titles. Even if our overall says it's 5 higher than the Hurricanes, I feel like our rosters are pretty similar. They might even have the better one. So we can't go into this game underestimating Miami. I feel like we didn't, and that's how we have a lead with 2 minutes left, though we just got run over by that kid. And he's steamrolling Callis, who's supposed to be the best defensive back in the country. This team won so many awards this year. It would be a shame if anybody was able to put us out. I know that they're going to try to scramble. And this is it. We are 2 stops away from getting the Hurricanes out of here, from moving on to the semifinals, and they are going to test us which works out. Part of that might be due to the fact that he used to be a running back. We need to look at his stats after this game, and we're getting the interception to seal it. There is a problem, though. If we don't get off the 1 yard line, this one's not over. Thankfully, that spot was generous. One more play is going to do it, and this team is on to the semifinals. From a development standpoint, though, Lane Brink and Traylon Jackson are our best 2 cornerbacks. They were the kids that we moved over at the very beginning of this, and their coverage stats have actually gone up, not zone coverage. That makes me think we might need to run more man-to-man versus Georgia Tech then. And if we can get past them, we'd be playing either Stanford or Oklahoma in the championship. We just gotta take it one game at a time, though. They are gonna be an 81, which should matter. I shouldn't underestimate them. I go through this every single video, but I'm going to. It turns out it is appropriate in this situation. They have been terrible. It's 31-0. We're getting ourselves a blowout playoff game. And just to be kind, we let them score a touchdown at the end. This team's ready for whoever we're gonna get in the national championship. And it's gonna be the Oklahoma Sooners. In order to get here, they took down Stanford by 3, but I have noticed they've already lost 4 games this season. That's kind of crazy that they've still been able to stumble themselves into the national championship, but we're still beating them with a minute left. We have a 7-point lead, and I'm hoping that we're able to hang on to it. Now, that was Traylon Jackson in man-to-man coverage. He just got routed up. They're also going to go underneath for a first down, which means we could very well be looking at overtime in this matchup, especially if they keep this up. Can we make a tackle? They might even go for the 2-point conversion because I've seen the computer do that before, though they threw it straight at us. And why can't we just get the interception right there? That would have been so clutch. There's been moments in this video where we have been able to lean on our defense. We're still trying to do that. And here we go. 2nd and 10. I'm all over that. They have nowhere to go, so they have to throw it away. We are literally 2 stops away from sealing our 2nd national championship in this video. And you know what? We're not going to question it or anything. They have not challenged the play. They are going to go for it on 4th down, and we're getting the interception with Collis. That is the best defensive player in the country for a reason. He has now won us back-to-back national championships. We've done it twice with Wisconsin in 5 years. And do you know how rare it is for me to unlock the CEO archetype in a video? I mean, we're not going to get to use it because I don't have 30 coach points to purchase it, but there is some cool stuff in here that would have been neat for the rebuild. And if we could just throw that first season out of the way, this would probably be the most successful 5-year rebuild I've had this year. With the recruiting restrictions we had, I wasn't sure we were going to get 1 championship, let alone 2, and I think it all comes back to these 2 4-star receivers that generated that first year from Wisconsin. After them, there was like nobody good at this position for us to recruit. We would have had a massive fall off without them. And if you've made it this far in the video, I hope you're having a good day, and I also hope that you check out some of my other videos too.